Going live. I'm live. Bringing some music. We're coming after. I don't know about you, but I can only live my life one way. All I wanna do every day is I just wanna smoke, drink, and love my girl to some reggae. Call her on the phone, tell her I'm coming over, get ready. I got some weed and a bottle of booze. All I wanna do is smoke, drink, and love my girl to some reggae. California. Me I know Aguanya. Salanya. I don't know about you, but I can only live my life one way. All I wanna do every day is I just wanna smoke, drink, and love my girl to some reggae. I call her on the phone, tell her I'm coming over, get ready. I got some weed and a bottle of booze. All I wanna do is smoke, drink, and my girl to some reggae. I don't know about you, but I can only live my life one way. And all I wanna do every day is smoke and love my girl to some reggae. I call her on the phone, tell her I'm coming over, get ready. Weed and a bottle of booze. All I wanna do is smoke, drink, and my girl to some reggae. Come on, you gotta dance with this, baby. Reggae soothes the soul. Every time. Yes, let's get this live started. Who we got? Hey, Big 1111, Julie, Big Tune, Bop, Bop. Y'all don't know. My nickname for my mom is Julie Bop. Well, go on, Julie Bop. Don't be mad. All right, let's pick a card. Let's pick a card to start. I hope you guys are doing well, enjoying yourself, enjoying the day. It's warming up. Take advantage of the heat. Allergy season's around the corner. Get your meds ready. And let's see what we want to start this off with. Tell somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to come in. This one. It's a nice card to start. Surrender. 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 I love the seahorse. Seahorses feel so magical to me. Let's see what surrender says. Number 30. love you, Big 1111. I love you. I love that you're always coming in with a lot of laughs. All right. Number 30 says surrender, sudden change, radical trust, graceful submission to fate. You have entered a space of surrender. This mandala gently speaks of allowing yourself to float within the ebb and flow of life, carried upon and within a new direction. There is a situation currently playing out within your world that requires you to relax and allow it to unfold. What? That's what I love about this stuff. It just speaks perfectly to every moment and every situation. Let me read that again. There is a situation currently playing out within your world that requires you to relax and allow it to unfold. Let go of the need for control and know nothing is ever within control. There are times where one needs to act to create a heart's desire. However, this is not one of those times. Surrender is an act of trust beyond comprehension. It requires you to have faith in your abilities and to allow the universe to guide you to exactly where you need to be. At all times, you can feel as though you have entered a void, a place of not knowing, a place of stillness. However, this usually presents the opportunity for self-reflection, to hold a greater appreciation for all that has been thus far, and to be with oneself before embarking on fresh waters. The great current of life has a flow like no other. At times, it is gentle and graceful. At others, there is resistance and turbulence as you are swept away, leaving behind all that you have known, only to arrive at a destination that reflects the true vibration of one's soul. I gotta read that again. That just created imagery I like. The great current of life has a flow like no other. At times, it is gentle and graceful. At others, there is resistance and turbulence as you are swept away, leaving behind all that you have known, only to arrive at a destination that reflects the true vibration of one's soul. Allow the voice of your soul to be present, heard, and then shared through the power of love. This is a little meditation for surrender. Placing this mandala on the throat chakra will enable you to clearly communicate your feelings from a place of ease and grace. This is especially powerful where you are fearful of confrontation or of speaking and sharing your truth. Placing this mandala upon the third eye chakra instills a calm outlook over your activities by removing the need for knowing and seeing an outcome. Instead, this mandala will infuse you with the energy of surrender and move you to a higher place of being. Key elements for this card: silver, blue ray, throat chakra, third eye chakra, water, ocean, moon, permission, spiral of life, divine unfoldment, voice of your soul, public speaking, and throat-related issues. Right there. That's a lot. That's a lot of movement. So it's time to speak your truth. It's time to wake up the throat. It's time to give yourself permission to be you. And I think before I truly understood surrender, and I'm still learning, but when we're in a phase where we just don't know anything, surrender can feel sometimes like somebody's asking you to give up a fight that you feel like you need to fight and you need to win. But it's not that at all. Surrender is just saying, I don't know how this is going to turn out, and it's okay. I trust that I have all the resources I need. I have all the support I need, and I don't have to fight for it to turn out the way I want, because however it turns out, wherever I land from this is going to be a good place. Sometimes we have anxiety about change because we think all change is bad. But if you've ever thought about a time where your situation changed and got better, it's important to focus on that feeling when things start to change again. That you don't have to hold on to your old version of what change means. You can create a new definition for change that will allow you to surrender to the journey you have to take, and you're trusting and you're hoping and you're assured and you have faith that wherever you land is going to be beautiful for you. So that message wanted to come out. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for indulging me. 11 minutes in. Good afternoon, Starling. How you doing? All right, so this is going to be part 2 of the Divination series. And we went over a couple of them before. I'll go over them real quick again, just so we get a little refresher, and then we'll move on to part 2. I'm just going to read until it feels like the energy says, that's enough. And then I'll tap out. But thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you. Okay, the first one we talked about was bokomancy, which was divination using dust and salt. Then we did aeromancy, and this is divination by telling the fortune from the weather. A pantomancy, which was divining using the things that you come across by chance, like animals, stuff like that. Like if you see a black cat. All right. Arithmancy and numerology. This was the divination through numbers. Okay. Numerology was when you put significance to the number, and arithmancy is when you study the meaning of that. Okay. Astrology, as you know, divination through the planets and the stars. Then we went to augury. Augury is divining based on birds and their movements. Then we went through automatic writing, where you just kind of connect with source and you just write, almost like trance writing. And then you kind of just observe that and see what wanted to come through you as a channel. Then there's bellomancy, which is using arrows for divination. So you kind of either ask a question and pull an arrow from your quiver, or you shoot it up in the air, and based on how it lands, it gives you an answer to something. Then we had bibliomancy. So that was going through a sacred book, just picking a page and see what message shows up for you. Then there was bone reading, osteomancy. So this is where you use bones to divine or tell the future. Then we had brontomancy, which was divination using thunder. Then we had capnomancy, which is fortune telling based on smoke from candles, herbs, and incense. Then there was casting. It's similar to the bone reading, but instead it involves throwing charms and interpreting charms based on the meaning you've given to it. Then there was ceromancy. Ceromancy is divination using the shapes that are formed when you pour hot wax into water. Okay, and it gives you a particular shape, and that's called ceromancy. Then there's chirognomy, which is hand divination, which is kind of like palmistry, where you read the shape of someone's hands, the lines in their hands, and you can tell a lot about them and their situation. Then there was chiromancy. Chiromancy, or did I say that already? Yep, chirognomy is the divination of the hand shape. Then chiromancy is reading the lines of the hands. So chiromancy is more about reading the lines, and chirognomy is more like the shape of the fingers and the shape of the palms. All right. Cladonism is when you hear things like on TV or a song playing on the radio, and then it has special divine meaning for you for a particular situation. Then we ended with conchomancy, and conchomancy was fortune telling using seashells. So that's when you put the seashell to your ears and you hear something that means something to you. All right, so next we have crystal ball reading. So we're going to get into that. And my guys just wanted you to know. Hey, sis, I'm glad you're here. My guys just wanted you to know that divination, again, is your way of connecting with source, with universe, with God, excuse me, with God, with goddess. Think of it as connecting to what you were before you were born, before you took consciousness into a physical body. You were and are an all-knowing spiritual being that has always existed. So when we play the earth game and we drop down into physicality, we lose a lot of the abilities we have as spirit, because now our spirit is within dense matter. So you can't move the spirit as easily now because it's encased in something heavy. But divination is your way of just connecting back to your source spirit. Okay? And it's just all the many ways you could do that. That's all it is. The way you connect to source, the source of who you are. All right. So, crystal ball reading. That's what we got next. Crystal ball reading, or scrying, is a method of fortune telling that uses crystal balls. Crystal balls come in all shapes and sizes and can be made from crystals such as quartz or glass. To read a crystal ball, you will have to clear your mind and stare into one. You may see shapes within the ball, or you might get ideas forming in your third eye. Reading this way takes some time to get used to, but it is rewarding. Crystal ball reading is one of the most famous types of divination, so it is possible to learn. Although there is information out there on reading the crystal balls, much of it isn't very modern. Real quartz crystal balls can be expensive, and mastering one requires a very particular psychic skill set and dedication. So that's where that comes from when you see, the little ads on TV about psychics and palm readings. They're always hovering over the crystal ball. That's just one of the many forms of divination. Just one of many. All right, next, dactylomancy. Dactylomancy is a Greek term which translates as finger divination. Traditionally, dactylomancy is practiced using a ring. However, technically, any form of divination which uses the finger could count as dactylomancy. But most people know dactylomancy as the type of divination which uses rings. To practice this divination, first you need to tie a ring to a piece of string. Then you will think of your question, then lift the string so that the ring is suspended in the air. Finally, you will interpret the sway of the ring as being a yes, no, or maybe. So you've probably seen that used, but maybe with like a pendant, kind of like the pendulum. Same idea. All right, dice divination. Dice divination is a method of divination that uses dice. You can use regular dice or fortune or special fortune telling dice created for the purpose. If you're using standard dice, it is customary to use 2 or 3 dice, not just one. Once you have your dice, all you have to do is ask your question. Roll them and then take note of the answer. If all dice contain an odd number, the answer is no. If all dice have revealed an even number, the answer is yes. If there is a mix between odd and even numbers, the answer is uncertain or unclear at this time. I like that. That sounds simple enough. So isn't it funny? So that means for the people who go gambling or they go to Vegas and they're at the table shaking the dice, isn't that just a form of divination? If you think about it, dice throwing is old, it's ancient. Ancient cultures have used dice. It's kind of like runes. Runes are almost like a type of dice too, on all the rune letters on these little blocks. Just a thought. All right. Okay, the next one is, I'm not going to butcher this word, Dobutsu Uranai. Dobutsu Uranai is a modern type of fortune-telling horoscope that originated and is popular in Japan. There are 12 signs in Dobutsu Uranai, and like in other types of astrology, you are assigned your sign based on your date of birth. Also, like other systems in astrology, your sign is said to tell you a lot about your personality. The 12 signs in Dobutsu Uranai are based on animals: the lion, the sheep, the koala, the panther, the wolf, cheetah, monkey, tiger, Pegasus, elephant, raccoon, and fawn. As well as the standard 12 animals, some diviners also assign colors to their clients, as this can give a more detailed horoscope. That's interesting, because if you want to get into horoscope but you don't feel drawn to the Western style of horoscope, then Dobutsu Uranai might be a thing, because now you kind of work with animals representing the zodiac signs instead of, just the signs themselves. So it's spelled Dobutsu Uranai, Uranai. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Thanks, sis. All right. Next, we have domino divination. What? Dominoes and dice? We've been divining for a long time. I think every Jamaican is a diviner. All right. Domino divination is similar to dice divination, but the system involves using regular dominoes. 2 domino tiles are pulled, and the numbers of each are interpreted. For example, 2 blank tiles together predict great misfortune, but 2 sixes together predict happiness, success, and a good family life. Interesting. All right, next we have dowsing. There are 2 popular types of dowsing. One type, uses rods and is usually performed for the purpose of locating areas where there may be water or oil. Sometimes divination rods are employed to also find missing objects. The other type of dowsing divination uses a crystal, glass, or metal pendulum as a tool. The diviner asks the pendulum a question, holds the pendulum in their fingers, and waits for it to sway. The sway of the pendulum is interpreted by the diviner to represent a yes, no, or maybe, in precisely the same way a ring would be deciphered in dactylomancy. I always told myself I wanted to learn how to do that. I always wanted to learn how to use dowsing to find water. I think there's just some basic information and knowledge I think we should all have as human beings. We need to have like a earth course where we just learn all the stuff we never learned in school. We need to learn how to find water, how to track with the animals, how to predict the weather, how to filter water naturally, how to what plants and medicines and herbs to use. I think we all need to go back to learning this stuff. You know what I mean? All the natural ways of the land. We need a re-education. Seriously. All right. Next, we have Atelia Tarot. Atelia Tarot. I am placing Atelia Tarot as a system separate from the regular tarot. My reason for doing this is because Atelia is not very popular in modern times. The Atelia system is also hard to master with regular tarot cards, and there are cards in this system that are not in regular tarot. In some respects, the Atelia Tarot is like regular tarot. Atelia has 4 suits: wands, cups, swords, and coins, each with 10 pips: a page, knight, queen, and king. Atelia also comes with 22 majors, with some familiar faces, justice and temperance. However, that's where the similarities end. Many of the interpretations of Atelia Tarot are wildly different from regular tarot. For example, the 5 of coins in Atelia is a positive card of love, whereas in modern tarot, the 5 of pentacles is a card of poverty. There are also cards in the Atelia which are not found in decks today, such as chaos and birds and fish. In addition to these challenges, Atelia cards are always read with reversals, which have their own unique meanings. There are 156 interpretations to learn in Atelia, compared to the 78 of modern tarot. Wow. The vastness of Atelia card meanings makes the system trying to master. There is also a lack of Atelia information in English. However, it is a super fun system to learn, and the card meanings are brutally honest. If you want to learn, lucky for you, here at Divination and Fortune Telling, we have the most substantial Atelia card meanings in English on the entire World Wide Web. So if you're interested in this, the site I'm reading from say they have a whole compendium of meanings for this thing. Sounds interesting. I'm not into tarot that way. Half of this stuff I was reading, I didn't even know what it meant. But for the person who is involved in tarot, and maybe you have mastered tarot, maybe the Atelia Tarot can widen your perspective. It's spelled Etteilla. Atelia Tarot. All right. Next, we have favomancy. Favomancy is a type of divination that interprets the way beans or sometimes peas fall. Favomancy is believed to have Middle Eastern origins. It is currently practiced in Bosnia and has historically been practiced by Islamic groups who reside in Russia. Okay, next we have one of my favorites, fortune cookies. I love reading my fortune and then eating that cookie. All right. Fortune cookies are little edible shells with paper messages inside. Each message will contain a prophecy that may or may not be relevant to the seeker. For example, hold your tongue and open your ears would be the type of statement you could find inside a fortune cookie. One could argue that using fortune cookies is not a type of divination, which one can practice. However, I will say that there are people who go out of their way to get fortune cookies for the sole purpose of obtaining advice in the same way they would hunt down their daily horoscope in the newspaper. Therefore, in some respects, fortune cookies can count as a method or tool of divination. If you wish to receive a prophecy from a fortune cookie, they are easy enough to obtain. They are typically sold in Chinese restaurants and are popular in the West. I love divining with fortune cookies. I've had fortune cookies that I've had the fortune for years because it was so positive and so beautiful. I was waiting for the day that I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. And it's happened that way. All the ones I've found that I've held on to, it didn't come through right away. Sometimes it was 3, 4, 5 years later. And then you go back and look at that fortune cookie and be like, it was right. It was right. So, but a question for you. If you open a fortune cookie and the fortune is not good or it's negative, do you eat the cookie? Do you still eat the cookie if the fortune is bad? Just a question. Just a question. All right. Next, we have geomancy. Geomancy is a class of divination methods that involve interpreting markings on the ground. A geomancer may interpret marks made by animals or lines which have randomly been drawn by themselves or their seeker, which is the person getting the reading. It was once common to employ geomancy when deciphering the meaning of a dream. Okay, I've heard of that before. Next, we have graphology. Starling says, yes, I do. You still eat that cookie? I don't know. I feel like if it's bad fortune and I eat the cookie, I feel like I just ate the bad luck. But maybe that's a good thing. You just eat it and process it and let it go. All right. Graphology. If you make judgments of someone based on their handwriting, then you are practicing graphology. Although it still counts as a form of divination and many consider it a pseudoscience, graphology has evolved into the science of graph analysis. Interesting. You might notice as you change and go through shifts in life, doesn't your handwriting change? I guarantee you it's very rare to find someone who's written the same throughout their whole life. When you're stressed, your handwriting is different. When you're happy, your handwriting is different. When you're tired, it's different. When you've gone through a big shift in life, because the flow of your hand is tied greatly to your confidence. Think about that. Think about how you used to write as a child and how you write now. You write more confidently. You flow more confidently with your tool, your pen. So if you even pay attention to your own handwriting, you can probably start to see where your state of mind is based on how you write. You have a tight grip on the pen. Are you anxious, nervous? Is it flowing? Are you holding it in different parts of the fingers? All these things, if you pay attention to you, it can tell you something about yourself, the way you write and hold your pen. All right, Gypsy fortune telling cards. Gypsy fortune telling cards are a subset of cartomancy. The cards in a Gypsy fortune telling deck may or may not depict several things. Items from everyday life, such as a cat or a chair, feelings such as happiness or despair, events such as weddings or funerals. Although they are called Gypsy fortune telling cards, I have to say, as a Roman gypsy, I have never actually seen any Romani gypsy person use these cards for divination and fortune telling. I suspect that they are Eastern European inventions. All right. Haruspicy. I think I came across this earlier. But haruspicy is a very ancient form of divination that is thought to originate in ancient Mesopotamia. A compendium of writings from 900 to 600 BC, known as the Barutu, contains instructions on the practice of haruspicy. The Barutu is one of the most significant and earliest known mentions of the method in detail. However, the texts are said to have been based on even earlier writings. Haruspicy involves analyzing the entrails, mainly livers, of sacrificial animals, goats, sheep, chicken, as a means of divination. The Babylonians believed that blood contained the life force and that it originated in the liver, hence the liver's special status. They separated the liver into different domains and assigned each a god and goddess. During an important event, an animal would be sacrificed and its liver examined. The reader or the baru would give their interpretation based on the size, shape, color, and texture of each liver area. Along with Mesopotamians, the Greeks were well known for their practice of haruspicy. In the Bible, the book of Ezekiel 21:21 mentions haruspicy, belomancy, and possibly teraphim together. Many spiritual religions involve animal sacrifice, even in modern times, but haruspicy is a divination practice has died down. There are texts on ancient religions that look at the subject of liver divination, so you could learn if you're willing to dig deep into history. However, due to the effort, time, animal killing, and animal cruelty laws in many countries, I advise you to look for another type of fortune telling unless you like a serious challenge. So just don't go out there snatching up squirrels and people's goats trying to look at liver. But the first thing I thought about when I read this was, people still do that? Do religions and practices still do that? And the first thing that came to mind was autopsies. When they do human autopsies, they often look at the liver to tell a lot about the body. And when they do that, we call it medicine. But when they attribute it to divination, it has to get a different name, haruspicy. And you see how it can have a more, without the comparison, it could seem like a kind of very evil and ugly thing. But if you really look at it, autopsies look at human liver to tell a lot about the person's environment, what they ingested, the health of their body. A lot of information is stored in the liver. So it's kind of like the same thing. Legal in our state to do this. What? What state are you in, Big 1111, that you can just go killing animals? Yes, Michigan. Well, Michigan, if you're trying to be diviners of the liver, Michigan is the place to be, I guess. I didn't know that. Thank you. Oh, they mainly do goats. Interesting. All right. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Next, we're getting into the Ifa divination. Okay. New law? I got you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next, we have the Ifa divination. Ifa is a method of divination and religious system which originated in Western Africa. Ifa divination is a component of several ATRs and is practiced by priests and priestesses. Oh man, that's all they put on Ifa? No, listen. Ifa is deeper than that. IFA. You need to. I thought they'd add more to that, but they just kept it short. Your Ifa is deep. It's deep, and it encompasses a lot. So if you're interested in Ifa, I would encourage you to delve deeper. This just really gave a short synopsis. Didn't even really go into it much, but yeah, check it out. I think some of these I might go over that are interesting to me and just go a little deeper into them. On the subject of animal sacrifice, Big 1111 says, not my cup of tea. We don't practice animal stuff, just hugs. I love that. I love that. I love hugging the animals. I don't judge, people do their thing, but I prefer the hugs too. All right, next we have the I Ching. The I Ching is the most well-known Chinese form of divination in the West. The method involves throwing coins multiple times, taking note of how they land, and interpreting the pattern created based on the Book of Changes. Unlike other Chinese methods of divination, there is plenty of information on I Ching in English. The I Ching is easy to practice and can be used for most types of questions. However, there is a lot of learning involved as there are many possible ways the coins can fall. All right. Next we have Jiobi or Po. Jiobi. That sounds familiar to me. Po is a form of divination which is popular in Taiwan, particularly in Taoist temples. The system involves asking a question and then throwing 2 moon blocks on the ground. The position which the blocks land will give you your answer, which will typically be a simple yes or no. Kind of sounds the same like throwing charms or dice. Kind of sounds like the same. It's interesting when you start looking at all of these, how no matter what culture it's set across, they all seem to have something in common. And I think this is how you just go back to the ancient human practices. You start to see where it still exists in all different cultures. All right, next we have Kausim. Kau space CIM. Kausim. Kausim is a type of fortune telling that originated in China. It is popular in Buddhist and Taoist temples, known as chi-chi sticks in the Western world. The method involves asking a question, drawing a Kausim stick from a tube, and interpreting the meaning concerning the issue. Calcium sticks are wooden sticks which are housed in a tube. The rods are inscribed with numbers and characters. Altogether, there are 100 sticks, each with a different number, character, and meaning. Depending on how the diviner reads them, the interpretation of each rod may be long or short. And I've seen this before in Chinese movies. I love watching Kung Fu movies. And I always see them when they go to their temples and they have all the candles and incense burning, and they'll pull a stick from a tube, or I've seen some people hold it to the head and shake it until one falls out. So I've seen that before, but in movies. All right. How far along are we? Okay, I'll go for about another 15 minutes. All right, Kipper cards. Kipper is a 36 card divination which originated in Germany. Although it is currently most popular in German-speaking communities, in recent years it has begun to be picked up by English-speaking diviners. I liken the system to be similar to Gypsy fortune-telling cards and Lenormand. Many of the cards from both decks are like Kipper cards. If you can read Gypsy fortune-telling cards and Lenormand, you will be right at home with Kipper meanings. However, keep in mind that Kipper is its system, and learning will require study time and research if you are well versed in other methods of cartomancy. Okay, so now this is the one they're talking about, Lenormand. Lenormand. Lenormand is a 36 card reading system that uses Lenormand cards. Like several other forms of cartomancy, Lenormand began as a card game, a game of hope, and developed into a kind of divination. Each Lenormand card depicts an object such as an anchor, a ship, or a mountain. Each of these objects has symbolic meaning. For example, a mountain represents a problem, and a ship represents travel, among other things. For reading, the cards are combined to form divinations known as Lenormand card combinations. So a mountain and ship combination could be interpreted as representing an issue with travel. Like in tarot, Lenormand uses spreads. However, unlike tarot, there are only a few standard Lenormand spreads: a string, squares, and a grand tableau. Am I saying that right? Tableau. I think so. Lenormand can be learned very quickly. Depending on your talents as a reader, you can get very detailed information from learning Lenormand cards, and the system is excellent for giving predictive readings or readings where your client doesn't want to give too much away. I generally recommend that you read Lenormand if you plan on reading lots of people, but tarot if you only intend on reading yourself. You can find out how to read Lenormand on the Lenormand Oracle website. And that is spelled Lenormand, Lenormand Oracle. All right. Next we have Libanomancy, or Libanomancy. Libanomancy is divination using incense smoke. To practice this method, all that you must do is petition a spirit, light incense as an offering, and interpret the movement of the smoke as a message from that spirit. Some diviners would even take the way in which the incense was burned and the patterns in the ash left behind as significant. So, if you're drawn to reading smoke, it's kind of like the same thing as like reading the clouds. All right. Lithomancy. Lithomancy is the correct term for divination using stones. Although the term can apply to any rock in modern prophecy, it is usually reserved for divination using crystal tumble stones such as amethyst and tiger's eye. The meaning of each crystal will correspond to your understanding of that crystal. So amethyst might mean that you need to work on your spiritual development. Rose quartz could say that you will soon find love. To practice lithomancy, all you need to do is put 10 or more crystals into a mojo bag. Shake them up, ask a question, and then pull one out. The crystal which you draw will guide you or may symbolize a possible outcome. I like that one. I like lithomancy. The idea of putting crystal tumble stones in a bag, shaking them up, and see what stone comes out for you. I like that. And guess who else does that? You ever watch the TV show Survivor? When sometimes they have to pull rocks to see what team they're going to be a part of. Jeff goes around with a little bag that he shakes, and then all the participants got to stick their hand in there, pull out a rock and hold it. Wait till he says turn it over, and then they do. So on that show, they practice lithomancy. Food for thought. Love your bag. I love that, Big 11. All right, next we have, I think I could get like 2 more in. Mahjong. Mahjong is a card game that is popular in China. As with playing cards, dominoes, and dice, Mahjong cards can be employed for divination. Traditionally, Mahjong is played or read using Mahjong tiles. However, in modern times, it is possible to buy them in card form, and this adds to its appeal for diviners. All right, that's interesting. I like playing Mahjong every now and then. Next, we have Mikayu Yura. Mikayu Yura is a Japanese fortune-telling method that uses rice or beans and is traditionally performed 15 days after the new moon. That's all he gives on it, but that sounds interesting to look into later. Mikayu Yura. 3 words. Mikayu-Ura. All right. The last 2. Mirror scrying. Mirror scrying, especially using black obsidian mirrors, is mainly associated with Mesoamerican culture. Before mirrors, scryers used bowls of water to divine the future, but the use of water never went out of fashion. Water was still being used as a form of divination by the Mayans and Aztecs when the Spanish invaded in the 1400s. Mirrors and water hold the same symbolic meaning for many people from the region, that they act as portals to the spirit world. In modern times, mirror scrying is practiced by the Huaycal or the Wixaritari of Mexico and by diviners across the world who possess a mirror. The techniques behind divining using a mirror is very similar to crystal ball divination, if not the same. You can use a regular mirror, but black obsidian ones are available readily online. Now, word to the wise. I believe all mirrors are gateways and portals to other realms and spaces. So I feel like if you're going to ever take up divining through mirrors, make sure you know how to protect yourself and how to close a door you open. That's with any form of divination. And that's why you cannot advance really in these techniques unless you truly know yourself. And to know yourself is to know how to protect yourself and to know And it's not like an evil, negative thing. It's no different than if you went to a new environment. You're more observant of that space because you don't know that space. So you want to watch out maybe when you're crossing the road. I remember the first time I ever went to San Francisco. And you have to be careful when you cross the streets in San Francisco. Okay? But it wasn't an evil or negative thing. It's just cautious. Being cautious in a new environment. And using mirrors can quickly take you to new environments. So you want to be cautious and make sure you truly understand any divination you're getting into before you get into it. And that's why it's important to choose one that really resonates with you, because that means you're almost going to naturally have the ability to have discernment about it. Okay? Instead of getting involved with it and then realizing, like, oh shit, I didn't know I had to do this. You know, especially when it comes to mirrors, be careful. All right. The last one we're going to do. Oh, and in movies, cartoons, or TV, who was it that looked in the mirror? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Divination. Even in Disney movies, there's a lot of magic in Disney movies. Disney's all about magic. So if you see all these divination practices and now you think back and you ask yourself, how many Disney cartoons actually depicted divination? You might end up going down a rabbit hole. Just saying. All right. Next, we have Moliosophy. Moliosophy. Moliosophy is a system of divination that assigns special significance to moles. The shape or body part which a mole appears is interpreted as symbolizing good fortune or bad luck in that area. For example, a mole on the face is often called a beauty spot or beauty mark because it is considered to be a sign of beauty. Birthmarks are also interpreted as part of Moliosophy and are said by diviners to be more noteworthy than natural birthmarks. So this can go deep too. You can go deeper into Molosophy. Moliosophy. I've heard that a lot. Even people down south, African peoples, Caribbean peoples, they all have these cultures where they assign meanings to mole. If you have a mole, for example, I've seen someone before with a mole pattern under the eye that looked like a constellation. You're not going to tell me that that's not significant. This the way it's shaped. Sometimes the pattern it's in, where it is on the body. I know there are cultures also that, based on your birth chart, if you carry a certain mole or birthmark, it can signify you're a particular spirit reborn. So the ones who delivered babies, they always used to turn the baby over looking for special markings on the body, because sometimes their prophecy said that this particular being would come into existence bearing the mark of a wolf, a lion, a fish, a constellation. And so they flipped the babies over looking to see if this was the one. But funny enough, I feel a need to say this. If they're looking for a particular child and they flip the babies over and there's nothing, sometimes moles and birthmarks can develop later in life. Haven't you ever looked at your hand or something? You're like, where'd this mole come from? Wasn't there before, was it? Or you notice a birthmark that just got darker and darker and darker over time, and you never noticed that before. Yeah, sometimes as you incorporate more and more of your spirit self, you might end up with markings on your body, moles on your body, in different shapes and different places that wasn't there before, because more of who you are is coming into being. And that also comes with not only different abilities and different senses, but things might start to change on your body, which is normal. Okay. But if, get your mole checked out if you feel you need to. All right. I will do one last one and then I'll get out because I'm right at the hour mark. Thank you for kicking it with me so far. All my friends still here. Appreciate you. All right. Last one is necromancy. Necromancy. Listen up. Somebody's here who might need to hear this one. Necromancy is a method of divination that uses the spirits of the dead. Because there is usually some ritual component involved, necromancy is also classified as a type of magic or witchcraft. 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 Witch divination. Witchcraft. Technically, one could agree that any spirit communication is necromancy. Necromancy, therefore, has its roots in Paleolithic times. However, necromancy is often distinguished from natural mediumship due to its ritualistic nature, so they may or may not be as old as each other. Necromancy is a feature of shamanism. There are historical references to necromancy as a ritual practice. In Homer's Odyssey, after learning spells from the sorceress Circe, Odysseus raises the spirits of the dead. Although condoned in places, necromancy is practiced in the Bible when King Saul enlists the so-called Witch of Endor to perform a ritual to conjure the spirit of Samuel. I will tell you why listen, hold on a minute now. There are historical references to necromancy as a ritual practice. In Homer's Odyssey, after learning spells from the sorceress Circe, Odysseus raises the spirits of the dead. Although condoned in places, necromancy is practiced in the Bible when King Saul enlists the so-called Witch of Endor to perform a ritual to conjure the spirit of Samuel. So when people say something is witchcraft, okay, you cannot separate witchcraft, rituals, or spiritual practices from the Bible. It is all up and through there. Especially if you've ever read it from the front, in the beginning, all the way to the back, where it says, sign Jesus. If you've read that book from front to back, and you pay attention to how many times a ritual, a divination, a practice has been done, it is all up and through that book. So that's why I laugh sometimes when religious people try to say witchcraft and what they call Satanism is these separate things. It's all earth magic. And in any sacred book you read, there's going to be some mention of divining and connecting. That's all it is. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. Next one we're going to start off with on the next part 3 is going to be nephomancy, which is seeing shapes in clouds. So I appreciate you guys for showing up. Thank you for kicking it with me. I hope you learned something, right? And I hope you had fun. Thank you, Big 1111. I always love seeing you and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And remember, divination, it's not the meaning that they place to pagan and witchcraft. You have to research these things and redefine them for yourself. Everything in life has been given a meaning before you got here. And you can either choose to stick with the meaning you were given, or you can research it yourself and as a sovereign being, give new meaning to it, which gives new meaning to you and new meaning to your life. As a sovereign being, we're going to have to go back into everything we've been told and taught. And we're going to have to look at it with new eyes and healed perspectives. Okay? And then things become less scary. And I know for some of us on here, it's no big deal. We know spirit, and we know how we move with spirit, and we don't let other people's way influence us. We're comfortable with what we do, and it works for us, and that's all we need. And that's beautiful. But some people are still on the part of the journey where words scare them, ideas scare them, and sometimes they don't realize that they're stuck because they won't allow their mind to expand, to adjust to new meaning and new ways of seeing things. Okay? So sometimes I speak to multiple perspectives and points of understanding, because I understand that somebody's going to watch this who's very, very religious. Someone's going to watch this who's very, very spiritual. Somebody's going to watch this who this is all new to them. Somebody's going to watch this who's like, I've already known all this stuff. Now it's just maybe refreshing me and adding to what I know. So it's important to just study and learn. And the more you study and learn, the more nature and the universe and God and Goddess can talk to you and give you many different ways of understanding what God is, so that you can see that God is you. Always you. Okay? I love and appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys. I love you guys. Thank you. And if you're watching on the replay, I appreciate you being here. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye. I love you guys. Yeah, till the next dance party. Hit me up in an email and send me a request for a song. You know, I don't mind being a fool, as long as you laugh. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.